Good evening, hello and welcome to a new edition of The World Today, where we take you to a tour with the international press. Of course, we are with the Egyptian revolution with our press tour tonight, because of course it is one of the most important news, not only at home but also worldwide. And I'd like to welcome with me Mr. Ahmed Sawan, the political analyst, who's going to be talking to us more about it. Hello, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
Well, we're going to start with The Guardian, and we read a headline, 10 days that shook the world. These 10 days are since the fall of the Egyptian president, who's been there for 30 years. Hosni Mubarak, for those 30 years, had been the region's representative figure, and at the same time, he was a figure of the West, or doing the business of the West in the Middle East. So now, the whole world is shaking. The United States, Israel, the Arab world as well. What do you think about that?
All right, for what Mubarak was doing for the West, that's for the history to decide, really. But he was an ally for the West. And what the West want is they want stability. They want it's okay for them to have a dictator as long as they can have stability in this country and somebody who is allying with them. But when democracy comes, they cannot say anything. They have to respect democracy and help for democracy in these countries. So that's what happened, and I think it was really a big revolution, because I think people change. A lot of things change in just 10 days. In just these few days, a lot of things change inside Egypt and outside Egypt. Worldwide, things change very, very, very fast.
Actually, we've seen some of the Arab world, other countries in the Arab world taking after the Tunisian and the Egyptian example. We've seen Yemen, we've seen Bahrain, we've seen Algeria, and now Iraq, Jordan, Palestinian territories, all of them are revolting together at the same time.
You know, I was with you, we talked about Tunisia before, and before anything happened in Egypt, and I told you it's going to be a domino effect. It's going to happen in every other country, and it did happen in Egypt now, and it's going to go everywhere in the Arab world. And I actually really just want to say to these leaders, don't you understand? Don't you understand that you are in trouble? Don't you understand that you should give your people what they want? You have to give your people what they want, and you're not going to lose nothing. Why do you have to try to fight them and kill them and do all these things to stop them? Give them what they want. You will still have your seat. You are going to still be a president for another maybe a few years, or king or emir, but give your people what they want. And this thing also is going to reach the Gulf countries. They better understand this is going to happen to them also. They should have a constitutional ruling. A king should be a king and let a prime minister be elected or something. You should change the system. In Saudi Arabia also, they should try to change the system before they get into trouble and when they can do nothing about it. I promise them it's going to be changed in the Arab world very soon. So they have to try to do something about it.
Well, actually, The Guardian is giving a very good example of change, because this has started from the youth, and they say that in Tunis and in Cairo, it all started with text messages and the internet. And still we are seeing some of the countries like Algeria and Libya, they are cutting off the internet, and they are just following the example of the government here in Egypt.
That's shame. That's really bad. That's unheard of. I mean, cutting off the internet, and I mean, come on, you don't do that. You don't jail your people. It's kind of putting them in jail. You're putting a whole country in jail just for yourself to be in power. I mean, I will say it again, it's haram, guys. I mean, you should just let go and give a freedom to your people, and it's better to leave your country if you're going to leave it as a hero and your people like you, instead of living in a different way, being pushed to believe. And I remember when I was in Korea, somebody told me that the president of Korea in 1952, this guy, the president, stayed for 18 years, and he improved Korea to be like Europe right now. Korea is really, this man, president, improved it very much. And his guard killed him. And they asked him why he did that. He said he was in power for 18 years, it's too much. So that's how they think. I mean, I heard that when I was there. I don't know if the story is real or not. But there's people here for 30 years, 40 years. You cannot do a job for more than 10 years. You really, any job for 10 years after this, you get bored and you cannot do a good job after that. I mean, you really get bored and you don't have nothing more to do. So it should be maximum of 10 years for any president.
Mm-hmm. Also, one of the most important things that a lot of people, it's the concern of a lot of people over here in Egypt, and the New York Times was talking about that, the funds of President Hosni Mubarak, or the former president. The Swiss locate funds linked to Mubarak. Investigators have discovered tens of millions of dollars in Swiss bank accounts belonging to the ousted president, his family, and 5 prominent associates, officials in Switzerland announced. Now, again, this is one of the concerns. There were reports in a lot of newspapers and media about President Mubarak's fortunes. Okay. The former president, some people said that he had $70 billion. The United States came out and said it can't be, it's around $3 to $5 billion. Still, it's too much anyway.
I was the first one who see this thing in The Guardian, the 40 to 70 billion, and I posted it on my Facebook. I think it's why they do that. They do that because of this day. Any president of Arab countries, they are afraid of this day. They know one day this might happen to them. So they want to secure themselves. They want to secure their aides or family. But that's much too much. That's much too much. So what I think it should be done, if you remember with Yasser Arafat after he died and they had a deal with his wife, I think deal should be done. With all respect to the president, ex-president, a deal should be done, and somebody sit and negotiate a deal. How much money do you want, and how much money you're going to give back? So they should give this money back voluntarily, and we give them that they would not going to be persecuted in any way or other, but give the money back and keep some, like few percentage, that you can live happily ever after, but the rest give it back to the country. Do that. I think somebody should negotiate. And I am very upset that until now, Egypt did not ask to freeze all the assets of Mubarak overseas in all the countries. I mean,
although Switzerland has already got investigators to know how much.
Exactly. And there's always a way to find it. I mean, there is experts in this. They will be able to find out where it is. There is people, that's their job, to find out where this fund is and where this money is. But I think we should ask all European countries and everywhere in the world to try to freeze these assets.
Whose responsibility is it?
It's our government. I mean, the government right now, and the foreign minister. The foreign minister should do that immediately. Because again, we've seen a petition on Facebook circulating to freeze the assets of former President Mubarak. Right. But it's the people after all. So who has the responsibility? Is the government? It's the government, but people can do it also. And I heard some people want to go to the criminal court. And I don't want this to happen to any president. I don't want this to happen to Egyptian president to go to criminal court, international criminal court. We don't want them to interfere in our affair. So let's have a deal with him. Let's have a deal, and negotiate a deal with him and his family, and see how much he wants, how much he needs. He doesn't need that much money. He doesn't need even 1 billion. He doesn't need even half of that or tenths of that. Let's see how much, and we can afford him or give him a good life as an ex-president, respectable ex-president in Egypt. If we get back the money from the former president and from his associates, how would that affect our economy? We'll be rich. Because, you know, that some people over here in Egypt, they think that the money is going to be divided equally among all the people, and they're waiting for it to come. They said that in America when he was bombing a lot of money in the economy. They said you should give every American person $1 million. I mean, the money he bombed, but it cannot work this way. I wish it does, but it doesn't work this way. But this money, it will really help a lot. I mean, we can pay off our debts. We can improve a lot of things. Just stopping the way things was going and have things going in different ways, this itself will be enough. This will have Egypt really improve a lot and fast. Well, from The Guardian, again, we read about the Egyptian revolution. Egyptian dignity in the face of death. It was only when the protesters risked being shot that the revolution in Egypt truly took hold. We've seen more than 400 people fall martyr to this revolution.
And of course, a lot of Egyptians also were detained during this period. We've seen a lot of people over here, they say that some of the people, for the sake of the security and stability, the Egyptian police undertook systematic torture, which is widespread. Some of the methods were devised by the police, others were imported from the United States. This is sad.
So can you tell me who should apologize to who? I mean, who should apologize? Should the Egyptian people apologize for anybody? Or should somebody apologize for them? I think they should apologize for us, for treating us the way they did for the last 30 days. Look, I'm living in Egypt half time. When I used to drive and I see a police barricades the way they used to do it, I used to get very angry. I mean, the way they treat you. I did never see it in any different country. I never see that in Europe. I've been all over the world. They don't treat people like this. Why did the police was treating people here? And then we talk about, if you talk about middle people and lower standard people, they was treating horribly. I used to pass front of police station and I see families are waiting outside for their kids or their husband cannot enter the police station. And they know their kids are being tortured inside. And they never get anything. Even if her son get killed, she wouldn't get nothing.
Like Khalid Said, the
Yes,
example is
yes.
he was the idol and one of the people actually who died in custody of the police, and it was one of the reasons that started this revolution. A lot of people were trying to avenge what happened to him and to other people like him.
Right, right. It's only, I mean, just talking to her. And that make people even think it's normal. Like the new generation think it's normal. I used to see things like this in the Facebook. In fact, and I talked to my nephew, they had in the Facebook a police officer push a girl, you might saw that, and she fell on the floor. And the answer of one of them, oh, he had the right to do that because she wasn't speaking nice to him. See, that's the attitude. No, that's wrong. I mean, even if she's guilty of something, he should not push her. I mean, nobody should touch anybody. And even if a person go to jail, he should be respected even in jail. We don't even do that. So somebody have to apologize about this. And that's why people had it. And people was frustrated. And that's why people didn't mind to die, because this was so much, and we didn't have hope. We didn't know when this would end, when this regime would end. Nobody knew. And it was really so much that after this also we want his son to be in power after 30 years. People will live forever like that. That's why people was frustrated. I couldn't take it anymore.
Well, actually, after some of the martyrs fell in this revolution, they said that they are going to compensate them, and the families said, we don't want a compensation, but we want revenge from the system that killed our sons and daughters.
Yeah, I don't like the word revenge. I mean, come on, no. But they should get the rights. You know, if this happened in America, if somebody got beaten by the police in America, he can get millions of dollars. What's he get here? Nothing. I think they should compensate them a little bit, more than this 50,000 pounds you're going to give them. They should give them more money. They should give them respect. They should give them respect by just persecute these people who did this. Persecute everybody who was involved in this, even if it was the ex-president or the minister or anybody was involved in this should be really persecuted, and that's a normal thing.
Well, from the New York Times, we read, after long exile, Sunni cleric takes role in Egypt. They are talking about Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi, who's an influential Sunni cleric, and he was banned from the United States and Britain for supporting violence against Israel and American forces in Iraq. This is what the New York Times is saying about him. We've seen Sheikh Yusuf al-Qaradawi in Tahrir Square with the protesters yesterday, actually, on Friday. And he prayed with them the Friday prayers.
It was beautiful.
So what do you think about Sheikh Qaradawi returning during this specific
I
period?
always liked the guy, but I didn't know that it was 30 years he wasn't allowed to be here. I mean, that's shame. I didn't know that. I didn't know he